Sandites, welcome to February, close to the end of February, and another episode of Sandite Chat. It's kind of fun today because we have a little bit of an outsider with us today. I don't consider you an outsider because you just worked with us for so long, but Sarah Gould, who is the owner and chief architect, I'm just going to call you that, of KKT Architecture. They have been our partner for a while now. In fact, go back to Northwoods Fine Arts Academy. It's been a long time. And Garfield Remodel. They worked on the Freshman Academy and STEM Center and the Angus Valley Gymnasium.
That's right.
Safe room. Anyway, we've had a long-term relationship with these guys, and so thank you for being here.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure.
A little atypical to have someone coming in, but it's great that you're willing to do that. You run a company, Sarah, and you have time to do this.
Well, this is the fun stuff.
Yeah, and that personal commitment to what we do, and at a whim, I can call and say, hey, I've got this concern, or help me figure this out because I don't understand, and you've been really great. So
thank you. I absolutely consider you guys as an extension of us, as our, not just our client, but our partner.
Yeah, so good. And a presence in the community, too. People are very well aware. Also, I think this is your first time on Sandite Chat. So this is Cassidy, Wion, our CFO, Chief Financial Officer. He's very experienced now because he's been in this position.
Yeah, all of 10 months, 11 months.
11 months, that's it.
Very tenured.
Man, very tenured. But here's the thing, soaking everything up like a sponge and keeping us honest. So thanks for your work.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it. So people really do love to come and get on video, and I'm kind of joking about that, but it's kind of intimidating the first time, but I know these guys are going to be able to share a lot of information that we have. I'm just going to start by saying thank you to our community for voting yes in such a big way for the 2024 bond election that allowed us to glean $114 million and a little bit of change to complete a lot of pretty brilliant projects for us. So I just want to start with a little bit of information about the why we do bond projects and the why we do bond elections, and ask our voters to support that. And Cassidy, I know you've kind of talked about that at some of our chamber forums, so can you expand a little bit?
Yeah, I think the main point is that our building fund money, which would normally go to something like this, is so limited in the amount of revenue that we receive that you can't build new buildings, you can't do these big projects that are so exciting for the community and the school, like the middle school, like the admin entry, without the support of the community and the passing of bond issues. Net assessed value also goes into this, and so every community is a little different. Our net assessed value is not the same as, say, a Bixby or a Jinx of the world, and so these are just things that we have to rely on the community support. We pushed almost 90% on that bond passage, which is great, and that's kind of our historical number that we try to hit. But without the support of the community and the involvement of the city and those key entities to help us and the community at large, we can't do those big projects that we look to do.
I love it because I think it shows community values kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
And making sure we're doing the things that we need to do to make sure we're educating them in the best way possible, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So,
and in today's world, like a 90% passage is rate is unheard of.
Absolutely.
So that emphasis.
So thank you, Sand Springs.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. So we have 3 signature projects that were on the bond election. I'm going to start with those, Sarah, because we're right in the middle of them.
Absolutely.
And so just so you know, our partnership starts way before we start talking about an election. So we've been looking at facilities district-wide to understand which need some work, which are in disarray. This building, Sarah, do you recall how old it is?
Oh, my goodness. I think it was 1924 when it was built.
It was like 100 years old.
Yes.
100 years old.
Over 100, I believe.
It is. And so we started with a remodel, which didn't involve KKT, really. It was born out of just kind of that saving of building fund money and paired with some ESSER money to revamp some HVAC that we saved the building, which was a real big deal for our community when we were tapping into what to do next. So the interesting thing about old buildings, Sarah, is code that I know really nothing about, but you guys are the experts. So just can you kind of capture this specific project is kind of the first one we started about just code issues here.
There's several things when you think about code that have changed significantly over the years. One would be just fire protection. So if you think about having sprinkler systems in your building, having the right kind of separation for the stairwells so that you can just have safe exit if there is ever a fire. Fire codes have changed dramatically, and so when you go into an old building, you really have to do an analysis to see where are the pieces missing that we need to change to bring it back up to current code. The other big one is what's called the Americans with Disabilities Act, or known as ADA, and that is essentially giving access to people of all different disabilities or ability levels, access throughout the building. So there you think about ramps instead of stairs.
Right.
We're in Sand Springs. Everything's built on hills. There are lots of stairs in your guys' buildings traditionally. And so making sure that we're being accommodating for all of those, for every user, to have ramps, elevators, and just really an accessible and welcoming environment for the community.
We spoke a little bit about ADA accessibility, and our new projects aren't the only pieces, because we had some old buildings like ADA bathrooms at Angus. We didn't have them.
Mm-hmm.
We also fixed the ADA bathroom at Pratt. So those were part of completed projects that we did last summer. But people don't think about those. That wasn't a thing when a lot of our buildings were constructed. So this one specifically, I'm so excited about the front. That came with $1 million donation from the city. So Cassidy, you were able to put that right in our building fund. And can you talk a little bit about how the finance has worked with the big signature projects and how maybe differentiate between a geo bond and revenue lease a little bit?
Yeah. So the revenue lease, I feel like, is where we focus on those big projects like Clyde Boyd Middle School, the admin entry, the press box. All three of those, we discussed in public settings, in meetings and forums. I know Superintendent Durkee emphasized that. Our geo bonds, they're like a yearly distribution of revenue for anything that was listed on the bond proposition, which would be on our website. So full transparency, I think the Transparency Act of 2017, that is always on our website to show our 2009 bond issue that just concluded, our 2019 that's still ongoing, and then this new 2024 one as well. You mentioned the city donation, which was great.
So good.
That came in June, I believe, of this past year, and we spent that contribution from the city within, I want to say, 7 months of receiving that. And we were in constant communication with the city, and we love that partnership with them.
Right.
And that's one of the strengths of our community, I feel like, is that partnership.
We tried to make the triangle kind of fluid for community projects, which was super cool, which kind of brings in the design team too, because they're working with two different entities who had definite conditions or design that they wanted to accomplish that would kind of match the main street. So talk about how you've been able to kind of blend city with school to make sure our project is special, but also in alignment with what our goal is.
Absolutely. Well, I will say the city of Sand Springs is just really fabulous to work with, and they had already started the design for kind of that the school's corner of the triangle of that intersection. And so they had preliminary designs, but not the final drawings. And so we really worked with them to make sure that we understood what their intent was and how it was, what kind of look and feel they were going for. And so when we designed the rest of the plaza, that it was going to be seamless, a seamless transition from the city property up to the school's property. And it really the design is just going to be so welcoming, I think, to pedestrians, for festivals, and really give a nice front face to the admin building.
It's always hard to remodel an old building. You guys discovered that with Garfield.
Mm-hmm.
There were some things that came up. Our original date for completion for this project was actually April, May.
Yes.
Early spring. There was a hitch, which kind of took you guys back to the drawing board and had me biting my nails a little bit about what's that going to do to the cost of it. And I know Cassidy might have been on pins and needles a little bit because as the finance guy, you have to make sure we're whole. But can you talk about, because there was a question that our comms director put on, has there been any hitches in projects? And that was kind of a thing.
Kind of a big one.
Yeah.
So with older buildings, the other thing is that your level of documentation or drawings that are available kind of hit and miss. So we did have access that you guys shared with us, the original drawings, but they're pretty limited. To give some context, nowadays you would have for a drawing set, you'd have hundreds of pages. I think there was like 16 pages of drawings,
right.
So not a lot of detail.
Right.
And then we didn't have any drawings for when the gymnasium was added later. So really at that transition, once the gymnasium came down, we found some conditions that we weren't expecting to see. And of course, wanting to make sure that we were taking our time, we brought the structural engineers out on site to take a look at it and ended up altering the design a little bit for that addition. But so that takes some time. We had to kind of pause on construction so that we could go back and make sure we had it engineered and detailed correctly, so that obviously you want to make sure it's done right is the most important thing. So, but we've gotten that out. And I think I just noticed today,
to rock and roll.
Yes, there's the demo through the front of the building. So that means
it's been very loud in
coming.
my office, by the way.
I can imagine.
It's been good, though. It's fun watching that because people, there's a lot of preliminary work, and people, I think, oh, it's going to happen quickly. But that's not how construction works. And they want to see the big beams, and so do I. So
and the beams are coming really soon.
They are.
On the schedule. The steel should start going up, and that's when it gets exciting. You can really see what it's going to look like and take
we
shape.
always say we're going to over-deliver and under-promise. And so I hope that's where we're at. Have you been nervous about the spending, Cassidy? That's my question.
No, I feel like we're doing a good job. I mean, you have to plan for payments, in the future and interest on any bond issue. I mean, that's why it goes before the people as a vote of the public itself. But no, I feel like we're in a good spot. Geo bond money, which is more in-house. I mean, we have that within our district, within our bank account, when that's kind of the difference between that versus, the revenue lease for some of that being held with BOK. But no, I feel like we're in a great spot thanks to that community support. I love that you're able to see like where the triangle is going to be.
Yeah.
You can kind of see that cutoff of where that wall will be, and then the triangle that reflects the triangle already downtown. So
for sure. I can't wait. I can't wait for Herbal Affair next year in April in that really sweet spot. If you've seen a night picture of the new admin building, which will include an elevator,
that's right,
some stairs and entry with a little bit of glass front. It's going to be beautiful. I mean, I just really can't wait. I hope we have some night activities that make it fun, for sure. Okay, let's shift a little bit because this week we had a bid opening, meaning competitive bidding to the max. Our construction crews, LD Kearns, as you know, we've worked with them in the past as well. Solid company for sure, getting some stuff done. But I always bite my nails for real when we open bids. So talk about the process. Let's start there. I'm the worst person that can talk about competitive bidding, probably.
Okay, so like you mentioned, years ago we started planning out what are the projects going to be. But then after that, my company has to work with all of the engineers and consultants to come up with a full set of documents. And the reason for that, I've talked about being detailed or not detailed. We want them very detailed so that you can get real, true competitive bids on the bid opening. So contractors, LD Kearns will reach out to all of the subcontractors, so tradespeople like plumbers or electricians, and ask them to review the drawings and put in a final number. And these are sealed numbers that are all collected and then opened on bid day. And then they compare to make sure that the school district is going with the lowest number and the most qualified bidder in every different category or different trade. And so it is a little bit nerve-wracking. You sit there and listen to all these numbers one by one, and you're kind of adding them up in your head or on the side to see, are we hitting budget? Are we going under budget? But the numbers came in so great.
Good. So that was
really
the Boyd bid
exciting.
opening for our new middle school 7th and 8th grade center
That's
that'll
right.
have a cafeteria and that's storm shelter, FEMA spec, but storm shelter. So Cassidy talked to me about, you went into the bid opening, that's maybe the second one you've sat in. That one was a big one. And so I don't know about you, I was a little bit stressed.
Right. I think we were all just kind of mentally counting those numbers as they came in. But Sarah, I felt like it was a really good turnout from those different vendors and those different categories, not living in your world every day. It was great to see the boardroom packed with different vendors to, give their bid. So
it's a good sized project, and so I think the bidders were really excited to have an opportunity to bid on it, which helps with the numbers ultimately and helps us, stay.
Right. I mean, we had a perspective. Once we were able to vet our construction manager with LD Kearns, they do a pretty good job projecting cost. So we kind of had an idea, but until you get the real thing in, you really don't know. So you want to make sure you've projected enough to get the project done, and truly you kind of hope that it's under enough that you can spice it up a little bit, which is very exciting. When I say that, I'm thinking about, the auditorium and the gym are going to stay intact on that project, meaning those bathrooms could use some upgrades. And so that was something that we knew we were going to strategize to do. There's some demolition that we would like to take place when it's all said and done to formulate that bus loop that we promised the public. And I'm pretty excited that I think that we're going to be able to make that happen with ease. So that was really fun, and I was. Cassidy was like, "What did you get? What did you get?"
Yeah, I think we were both counting numbers in our head, and then, what did you get? What did you get? Okay.
So I think I overshot, but it was a very pleasant surprise. So we're excited about that work. It's already started, Sarah. So it's kind of gone in phases. That was the final GMP. So we've got a final price now, but. Talk about the why, because people are like, well, why did you do this in 3 parts?
Absolutely.
What was the thinking behind it?
Well, I mean, it's still a functioning school. And so there was a lot of discussion with the district about how do we make the school safe for the students throughout the construction process. And so the first phase was going in with that new road on the north side of the site and making sure that, because it's not just the safety of the kids, but you also have a lot of parents and buses going to that site every single day. And so really a lot of thought and conversation about how are we going to route the parents and the buses during construction and then, in the final phase.
Right.
And so the solution was to do that road on the north. And then we went ahead and issued some structural and site packages. And that work is a little bit easier to get going while you're finishing up some of the other engineering and detailing. And so we issued those a few months ago. I don't remember the exact date. And so that they could get started on that site work. And then this is that final piece, which is the rest of the building.
So it was interesting. We were going through the drawings, excuse me, and Cassidy, you're going to know because what's your background?
Geotech.
Thank you. Which has to do with dirt.
Yeah.
Right.
I was a dirt guy.
But so one of the things that happens when you're doing projects, you think, boy, it's pretty flat. There's not a lot of slope. And then you get civil engineers come in and say, oh, but, and they show you exactly. And so one of the things that came up was an additional cost for backfill for the pad that was at a greater slope than what I ever would have imagined. And I think the cost, do you remember?
Oh, it was high, but I mean, you want a good foundation for a brand new building. But it was high at the time.
I paused and went, you say what again?
Yeah.
But I want to say like $135,000.
So.
Yeah.
It was interesting because when I was at Rotary speaking, Danny Hancock, who serves on the Tulsa Tape Board, he's also the Rotary president, he said, so you got a little surprised, didn't you? I said, how do you know? Like, people actually kind of pay attention to it. I said, yes, we did. But, I mean, it was fine. We were totally okay. But, man.
Right.
I can't even remember how much backfill.
Yeah, and it was kind of angled, I believe. So it increased as you worked your way out. But, I mean, it had to be the right quality of fill material. So if you have it close, and Sarah would be even better at this than I would know. But if you have that material close, you can use it, saves you a little bit of money. If you don't, then you've got to get it elsewhere.
Yeah, we kind of, during design, we had hoped that we could use some of the soil from the detention pond to the north, and that just ended up not testing to have the right compaction level, meaning it's kind of ability to hold structure.
Right.
And then the $130,000 you're talking about, they actually said you also need to mix in some rock in with it, and that was just a really big cost for that.
Which is a good thing. We have experts that are taking care of those projects. It's well worth the money, to be honest, and the percentage that we pay to our people to make sure it's done right. I always talk about longevity. If you ask me what I want in a building project in Sand Springs, I say I want it to last forever, because we're in a building that's 100 years old, and we just don't get to replace very often because of those things Cassidy talked about. But it's fun. So it's done. The Monday board meeting will have the final GMP on it. I don't have it yet from Josh. He's supposed to deliver by noon tomorrow, just in time to get it posted. And then we're good to go. What's next over at Boyd? What are we going to see?
So you will continue to see the dirt work, and that's still going to last a while, just because those things we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And then a lot of utility work is going on because it is essentially a brand new building on
Right.
that site. And so that's just bringing in the water and the gas. So you're not going to see anything go up for several months
Right.
still. And then you'll start to see some concrete getting poured. And then that exciting time, that's going to be probably about 5 or 6 months from now, I would say, that you'll start
Right.
to maybe see some things go vertical.
They have promised that we will be in school fiscal year 27, which is the August of 2026. So time is a ticking
That's right.
away. The good news about getting the bid process over for Boyd, it allowed us to see what additionally we could do. We were hoping to have a little bit of space to maybe do some better work with the stadium. So I know we've cut you loose with let's get going, come on, and get those designs ready. But we think it's going to look pretty brilliant at Charles Page High
It's
School.
exciting. So this is the press box edition,
Yes.
and it's going to make a huge difference for that stadium as a whole, both in the functionality of the press box, obviously, just giving the space that's needed for the coaches and the filming and, podcasts like this to be
Right.
held up there. But it's also going to look really good.
gonna look
It's
so
going to
good.
just give it some presence.
That was the original press box.
That's
I was
amazing.
digging through newspaper articles. I don't know if I shared this with you, Sarah, but we were cutting out articles of our kids, to be honest. We're not vain at all, but everyone loves their children. But I started noticing history of schools, and so I ran across an article, I think 2003, where Lloyd Snow had done the first revision of Memorial Stadium. And I'd heard rumor the press box was actually lifted, set down, and then lifted back up. It was on the ground. The press box, the original, was on the ground. So while it will remain, it's not going away, but it's certainly going to get a lot of sprucing. We have an elevator,
Absolutely,
a
yeah.
restroom, which is going to be an addition. Interestingly, I won't elaborate on that one, but it's been a journey.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that too. And the projected finish date on that will also be summer football season, pre-football
Before football season.
2026.
That's right.
So
Very exciting. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
exciting. So another question I get sometimes is, what else have you done? Like, what's going on? So some of the other things that aren't quite as, fabulous and don't take quite as much effort, we were able to replace the Charles Page High School roof. The existing roof for this building already. And like I said before, the ADA bathroom at Angus and at Pratt is already complete, and then we've already purchased refurnished limestone. So, as much as we can get ahead of our game, we try to do that. It doesn't behove us to save bond money. Cass, what are the rules for bond expenditure when we have to deplete money we collect each year in bond sales?
Yeah, we have a goal of 3 years. So within 3 years, we try to expend that bond money that we've received. I think the rule is 5, no more than 5 years.
Right.
But 3 is a great goal because even if we go over a year, we're still in a great, safe spot as far as ensuring that those are expended in the right amount of time. So it's very exciting to get ahead of the game on some of these projects.
So we have some up and coming summer projects that I've also kind of on the side given Sarah more work. But the public may know or may not know, we just purchased the Methodist Church property on 38th Street and 113th, I think, right across from Anytime Fitness. That is a not quite 8-acre property that has a gym on it, a multi-purpose facility that we're getting ready to equip with a basketball floor. I'm sure the public will remember we raised the gym that was the old Central Ninth Grade Center gym. You guys had done some structural assessment.
Actually, so the trusses, which hold up the roof, they were cracking, and so just really not safe and not really worth repairing at that level because there was going to need to be so much work to be done that the facility just didn't. It just didn't make sense.
Well, we were approached by the Methodist. Were you going to say something? I mean, you're right.
No, I was going to say that on the projects you listed and those that are still being completed, those are available on our website as well under the bond information.
Right.
So just if you're ever trying to track, where we're at with things, it's all out there. And Lisa does a great job of updating that and helping with that. So
I think you search the word bond in the search engine, and then you should be able to pull up all the fabulous information. So, but the Methodist Church property, while it's not a bond project, we are able to use our building fund to renovate that just a little bit. We were approached by the Methodist Church that were wanting to liquidate the property. Golly, we worked on that sale for 6 months.
Yeah.
A long time. I kept telling the board we're going to purchase it and we're going to close, I promise. And we finally did. December or January, maybe. I don't remember. But
it was just recently, just in January, I believe.
So, the purpose is to get the basketball team. They're itching. I was at the high school today and ran into Eric Savage, and he said, saw the gym. Rod tipped me over, and he's super excited. I said, well, it's going to get your wood floor. So that's on our list to do. And then I just threw Page Academy at you today. That's also one of the projects that was listed on the bond election, the proposal. And it's just a redo of the steps. Like they're crumbling, literally. It's terrible.
Buildings require a lot of work and maintenance to keep them going. So I just think it's so fabulous you guys are doing things like the roofs, because that's going to protect the rest of the building and really keep them functioning for 100 plus years.
Exactly. And I don't know, where are we on that? Like the roofs, we had Standard come out, they did too.
Yeah, so they've just finished all of so the Doobie Center, Charles Page High School, and then this admin building. So they've just finished that up.
And there were 2 more that were bidding very quickly as well. Limestone, I'm going to get this wrong. Do you remember?
Yeah, was it Limestone and was Garfield in there or?
I don't know.
I might be wrong on that.
I just put you on the spot.
I know
There's
you did.
2 more that we're getting ready to.
It's yet to be bid out,
we haven't bid it out yet.
So.
Well, I think we're opening. It's been scheduled. So anyway, lots of fun things. You can find it all on the website. I just love the fact that we can present a team to share with the public kind of the face behind what we do and the face behind the people that are doing some of the back work that you don't necessarily see. And so thank you for being here. Anything else I've forgotten, you guys?
I think that covers about everything.
All right.
I think so.
Well, Sandites, I think we've turned a corner. Like, I feel like we're not going to have any more snow days, so let's just, keep our fingers crossed. I know parents out there are really wanting the kids to be at school, and we are too. Spring break's coming up, and again, one last time, prep for the website. Just search for Bond, and you can find out all the information.